Hello everybody, how are you doing? Super excited to have you with me. We're going to be talking about an important topic today, which is the 7 ways to decrease your risk with fix and flips. Right now, we're seeing some change in the market. We're seeing some slowdown. We're seeing things take longer to sell. And we're also seeing some prices coming down in certain areas. So those are all things we need to talk about as how do we decrease our risks with the fix and flips as we're doing those in this market. Because anytime you get into real estate investing, you're always gonna have one of two problems. You're always gonna have a problem finding good deals, or you're gonna have a problem selling good deals, right? So you're either gonna have a hard time finding them to acquire the properties, or you're gonna have a hard time dispositioning them. It's never gonna be an equilibrium. If there's an equilibrium, it wouldn't work for financial investors ever because you're taking on some risk to do that. So the question is how can I find properties and resell them with as low risk as possible? But if it's easy to find properties, it's gonna be hard to sell them. If it's hard to find properties, it's going to be easy to sell them. And right now we're in that market where it's starting to become easier to find properties, and then it's becoming a little bit harder to sell them. Where a few months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, it was really hard to find good deals, but it was really easy to sell those good deals. So it's really important that you're on the same page with that you're realizing you're always gonna have one of two problems that you're gonna be fighting. So you've got to realize how to do that appropriately. And that's what we're gonna be talking about a little bit today. Let's get the slides working here. Maybe, there we go. 7 ways to decrease your risk on fix and flips is what we're talking about today. What we're gonna be covering is out-of-state owners is gonna be our fighting tip of the week. We're gonna be running through 7 different ways that you can actually decrease your risk when it comes to those fix and flips. Today's agenda, we're gonna jump into our welcomes and updates, our finding topic of the week, our topic of the week, our t-shirt giveaway, our free tool of the week. As you guys know, nothing comes in life without 4 key elements: education, following a system, hard work, and determination to follow through until the end. Okay, please comment, give me your name, the city and state that you are actually investing in. Put it in the chat, put it in the comments. I'd love to know where you're investing so that we can create some of this content around what you're doing and how we can better help you in your real estate investing. Now, at the end of this live cast, we'll be giving away last week's t-shirt giveaway. So all of last week, we're gonna be giving that, announcing that at the end of today's live cast. But from here on, you're working on becoming this week's t-shirt winner, which we will be announcing next Tuesday. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute. Now, for all of you that have, awesome, my account activated today. Long story. Oh no, Sandy, I'm sorry. I hope Josh and the team have got you all taken care of there. Hello, Sandy. Happy Tuesday. Great to have you here. Really appreciate it. For the rest of you, okay, we've got Angel from Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you so much for being with us. The rest of you that haven't yet, please say hello. So take a photo of you with your shirt. People that are getting our DHM shirts, which I didn't wear today because I wanted to look a little more professional, actually, because I ran out of time because I came late from another meeting. But please post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/dohardmoney. Now, who wants to win a free t-shirt? If you want to get the t-shirt, I need people that are asking great questions, leaving positive comments, having a high interaction, commenting on recording videos. These videos that we put together, actually, we put those on YouTube as well as a recorded video. And each week we choose one person that will become our t-shirt winner of the week. Now, I appreciate so many of you being subscribers. Like, we are getting close to that 10,000 subscriber mark. I'm gonna have a drink here. First off, thank you to all of you that are amazing subscribers. I really appreciate it. We put a lot of free content together to help you, and we want that to be a help in your life, in your real estate investing and financial freedom. Right now, we're at 9,177 subscribers. My goal is to get to 9,250 by the end of this week. So right now I'm looking for 73 new YouTube subscribers. So if you are currently not one of my YouTube subscribers, please go hit that subscribe button right now and type in the comments, you are my newest subscriber. We've got Rosanna from NJI, Investing in Florida, New York, and Minnesota. Appreciate it. We got Glinda. How much to get started? I'm not sure exactly what you're wanting to get started with, but we can talk about that, or you can give us a call and one of our associates can help you out as well. Sandy, we can do it. Yes, you can. Fantastic. So if you are my newest YouTube subscriber, please type it in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Type it in the chat. Now, for those of you that are, whoops, wrong direction here. For those of you that are part of my YouTube subscribers, there are new videos that I upload every single week, okay? So every single week I'm uploading these new videos. I've got single family homes versus multifamily. I've got a video that talks about my lifelong dream. I've got different videos that you'll be checking out. And one of the cool things, if you hit that, I get asked this all the time, what's that little bell thing? If you hit that bell notification, anytime we drop a new video, you'll get notified of it, so you can be one of the very first ones to watch that video. So if you hit the subscribe button, it'll get you subscribing. Hit that bell notification. It'll let you know as we put new videos out there. And as always, the thumbs up just tells me I'm doing a great job, and I want to do a great job for all of you. So I really appreciate when you hit that thumbs up button as well. Now, for those of you that are going to be with us till the end, which should be everybody, let's see. I'll be giving away our contractor estimate sheet. Our contractor estimate sheet is one of the most critical tools when it comes to fix and flip investing, okay? Let's just talk about this. So when we talk about fix and flip investing, people usually make the mistake of overvaluing the property, thinking it's worth more than it is on an after repair value. The other mistake they typically make is underpricing the repairs. They think the repairs are going to be less than what they thought it was going to be. So we've got to solve for those two problems. Problem number one is, how do we make sure that our values are accurate? One of the things that we use is Investor's Edge to make that happen. The other thing that we want to work on here is we want to actually make sure that we are having our contractor prices the way they need to be, and this estimate sheet and scope is really going to help you out. I've been working on this thing for 20 years. It has been evolving, and we make it better every single year. We're improving upon it and making it better as we are working on fix and flips and dealing with the problems and excitement and opportunities that are happening today. Real estate market update. We've been talking about this. We are in an economic downturn. I wouldn't call it a recession quite yet, but there is a robust job market. So we're not seeing the job market going down, which is a good thing. We're seeing some efforts for affordable housing. We're also seeing the commercial sector is growing other than office, which has remained stagnant, which doesn't mean it's getting worse. It's just not getting better. It's basically just flatlined. And falling home sales is really the concern. One of the reasons why that's happening is because of interest rates. Like, we knew this was going to happen. This should not be a surprise. The Federal Reserve came out and said, hey, things are getting too expensive. Prices are going too high. We are going to start increasing interest rates so that that will slow down the heat in the marketplace, and it's been doing that. Consumer fears, a lot of people are saying, hey, we're going to have a crash. I don't think that's going to be the case. Most economists like James McGrath agree with me, but we are seeing changes. We are going to be seeing changes that are happening in the market. We are seeing we have inventory shortages compared to where we were in 2008, where we had overbuilt happening, and we do not have that now. We also have really low vacancy rates for rental properties, which is another thing. And then mortgages are simply structured differently than they are right now. Subprime lending, smaller, is regulated with the subprime lending, which in 2008, it wasn't regulated at all. They used to call them liar loans. Housing inventory remains low. The funny thing that you could call it a liar loan, and the people that were giving the loans didn't even take that offensive or know that was a problem, just tells you there was something wrong. But 2008 was a wild time to be in real estate investing. I've been investing since 2000. So I saw the before and the after, which is interesting. 3 million home shortage is what we need. It's a once in a generational problem. Buyer demand is high. Most people want to own a house. The question is, can they afford it? So what's happening with interest rates going up and the rise on prices, it's making so it's not very affordable. So those people are having to rent properties or buy a less expensive property. And if there isn't a less expensive property, then they're not buying, which in turn is putting downward pressure on home values, and it is putting upward pressure, making it longer for time on market. So based on previous evidence, there is no expectation that a fallout from a housing correction would be comparable to the 2007-09 global financial crisis in terms of magnitude or macro gravity. The home price correction. Financial markets put upward pressure on mortgage rates. Results from this is basically this whole fighting inflation thing where they're saying, Federal Reserve is saying, hey, we're going to increase interest rates and a substantial decline to home sales is going to be happening. We're seeing it. We really are. So Moody's has done some forecasting to say, what do we think is going to happen in 2023 and 2024? You can see here, it's not a drastic, it's not like they're saying a 20% decrease, but it's somewhere between a 5% increase and a 5% decrease. And so for 2023, they're expecting 183 of the 414 largest housing markets are going to see an increase, 183. And the biggest jumps are Georgia, North Carolina, Connecticut, those types of places. The other thing we're going to be seeing here is 231 markets are predicted to see a drop, meaning the value is actually going to be going down. Some of those are in Florida, some of those are in Reno, Honolulu, Spokane, Washington, and in 2024, kind of the same predictions here. You can see from a -5 to a +5. So we're basically expecting house prices to rise 0, which feels a lot different than house prices that were going up 20% as we've seen. And so this is a slowdown. There's just no question that this is a slowdown. And so the question is, what's going to happen? And I think what you're going to see is it's going to take longer to sell houses. Prices are going to come down a little bit. I don't think you're going to see prices drop to rock bottom because, again, there are people that are wanting to buy these properties. It's just too expensive. So as they become a little bit less expensive, you're going to see those properties get purchased. Just so you know, houses sell in any market. I've had interest rates as high as 8.5%, 9%. Houses still sell. The question is, at what price do they sell and how many are selling? Because lots of people are saying, we'll just stay put. But the other thing that happens with that is there's an opportunity with rental properties, which we can talk about as well on how you can get rental properties that are cash flowing in today's marketplace. Something we should talk about for a future topic. If you want to know more about that, type it in the chat and let me know. Now, October data is finally out. Super excited about this. The 2022 housing report, national inventory for active listings went up 33.5%. Okay, so we're seeing inventory go up. We knew that would be the case as interest rates went up. Total inventory of unsold homes year over year went up 0.5%, including pending listings. We've got 30% less pending inventory. Newly listed homes year over year went down 9.8%. So we have less that are getting listed, but we're getting more on the market, which basically says they're slowing a lot faster. Median list price went up 12.9%, but I do think this is very deceiving because I don't think that's where the reality is. I think that's a lagging indicator as to what we're seeing right now. Time on market was 51 days, which is 6 more days than it was the same time last year. October to October, 21 to 22, we're seeing a 6-day difference. It's 6 days longer to sell a house than it was, but you're going to continue to see that happen. Just so everybody's on the same page, I think in a normal market, it's 90 days to sell a house. 90 days to get an offer, another 30 days to close on that offer. I think it's what you're going to call a normal market. And we're not even at 51 days. But the other interesting thing is before COVID happened, we were at 71 days on the market before COVID even happened, and now we're at 51 days. So we're still selling faster now than we were before COVID, but we've got fewer of them selling. So those are the types of things that we're looking at as we talk about the market that we are currently in right now. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you shout out and give me a hello. I'd love to say hi to you. I think I've got Roseanne I've said hi to, Sandy we've said hi to, Glinda, we got a shout out to Glinda, who else? Angel, we've got a shout out to you. There's a bunch more out there. Don't be shy, say hello. I wanna give you a personal thank you by typing your name in there. Let me grab a drink and we'll get into our finding property tip of the week. All right. Property finding tip of the week is what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about out-of-state owners, okay? Out-of-state owners is what we're talking about. Now, what does this mean? It means that the person who owns it doesn't live in the same state as where the property's at. So they could live in Utah and have a property in California. That would be an out-of-state owner is what we're talking about. They live in a state that's different. Now, that's different than non-owner occupied. Non-owner occupied means they live in the same state, but they don't live in that property. So they can live in California. They have a property in California, but the property they live in is not the property that we are talking about, and that's non-owner occupied. Same state, but don't live in the property. Now, those are opportunities too. Keep that in mind. There's opportunities and may have more motivation if they're living in another state to actually sell the property. You just want to be careful you're not dealing with vacation homes or recreational properties or those types of things because recreational properties, you're just going to have some local knowledge. Like, is this a place where there's recreational properties? And is this price range that we're in justifying more recreational properties? For example, like in Utah, I'm not going to market to Park City for the most part because a lot of those are going to be recreational type properties or second homes. And besides that, the price range in those areas is a lot more than what I want to be investing in. And so that disqualifies that area anyway. And you're going to see that quite a bit. Lots of times those recreational or vacation homes are more than what we want to be at. Now, probably a good tip here we need to talk about is you want to be buying properties where you can resell them at or below the FHA loan maximum for that area. Let me explain. Let's jump this browser on here. I just want to show you. Let's just say, who do we have here? Let's just say Florida. So max FHA loan amount, Florida. Okay, I'm just like, let's go for it. Lane Tree's got something on here. But so basically what they do is FHA comes out and it says, based upon what county you are in, this is the maximum that you can get for a 1 unit. This is duplex, threeplex, fourplex. But let's just say, so in Brevard County, the maximum is $420,000. In, I don't know, whatever county, and this keeps going, and you can find in other places, but in Collier County, it's $552,000, $420,000. What is important here is if you are in one of those counties, you should not be trying to sell a house that is for more than what that FHA range is. And why is this? It is easier to get an FHA loan than it is to get a conventional. There's less money. There's more people that can qualify for FHA than qualify for commercial or conventional type loans. So that you want that to be your high spot. So if I was in Columbia, Florida, the county of Columbia, Florida, I would say, hey, I really don't want to do properties that I resell them that are more than $400,000. Now, keep in mind that is our resale price. That is what we're selling this property for once the work is done, which means I'm going to be buying that property for quite a bit less because I'm going to have rehab that I'm going to have to do and I'm going to have expenses. And so now I'm buying that property in the high twos, low 300,000s, and then I'm reselling that for that 400,000 because that's what's justified in that area. But I'm getting that property for, mid twos would be ideal on something like that. And you can use our Investor's Edge calculators to figure out exactly what you want to do there. Log into Investor's Edge, put in the area that you want to be in. You clear your filters and look at ownership information, absentee owners, and you actually select out of state. Let's jump back to our browser here. So let's just take, we'll just take Georgia. Who's from Georgia that's with us today? I can't remember. We'll keep going. So I can just come in here and I can go to ownership information and ownership type. I can say, I don't want to do ownership type. Let's do absentees and I want out-of-state owners. And let's say those out-of-state owners, I want to make sure they've got at least estimated equity. Let's just say they've got at least, we want to be estimated value, we want things that are under $450,000. Let's just do that. And let's say, hey, we don't want to be in these really rough neighborhoods. So I'm going to put 75,000 as a minimum value. And I want to make sure we've got at least 25% equity. I don't really care where that is. So I've got 11,694 properties that are out-of-state owners in Atlanta, Georgia, between 75 and 450 with 25% or more of equity. Well, then you can start doing other things where you can come and say, well, I want people that have owned their property for more than 10 years, or you can even say more than 20 years, okay? So we've got, how many is that? 1,601 people that are out of state that have owned the property for more than 20 years, that are under $450,000 with an estimated equity of 25% or greater. This is powerful stuff, guys. Sandy's from Georgia. So Sandy, you should be writing this down and going after these people saying, hey, let me help you unload that property. All right, property types. Look at property characteristics, property type, single family. Oh, that's one thing we didn't do. Let's just jump back over to that. I did not put single family in here, which would be interesting. Let's see what that's. Let's go residential and let's go single family. And now we've got 435 properties. Now, this is what we call a very targeted list, okay? Because these are people who have owned their, or let's see, did we just mess something up? Residential, 20 years or more ownership, out-of-state owner, sales dates, no. Oh, include unknown sales dates. Yeah, we can include that, or you can take it off if you want to. So there's 1,319 properties that you should be going after if that's the search that you want to be going after, which can make a lot of sense as we're talking about out-of-state owners. For long-term stuff, I don't like duplex, threeplex, fourplex for long-term investments, and I don't like them as much for fix and flips. I would stick more to the single family is my experience and my recommendation for you. It doesn't mean you can't make money in those. You definitely can. It's just a different beast, different animal. Estimated equity between 50 and 30%. The pro tip, the equity information is lower due to how fast the market has been going in the past. So the equity, you might want to put a little bit higher equity, although we're starting to see that coming down. You just got to realize when markets go up or go down in a fast manner, it's harder for data to catch up to that because there's some lag time with data reporting. So just something to keep in mind as you're playing with some of those numbers. Now, off-market properties, these are ones that are not on the MLS. Or if you want to do, I've got a whole thing on MLS Sniper, and these are ones that are actually on the market, but you actually do a sniper criteria. But if you want to do stuff that's not listed on the MLS, we'll jump back over here, and we're going to say we want stuff MLS status, and we're going to say we want stuff that is all. We don't want all MLS on the market. We do not want on the market. So that took us down to 1,298. That are not listed on the market, residential, not on the market, absentee, they're out-of-state owners, 75. So, I mean, that's a pretty good list to be going after, to be talking to. And it sounds like Sandy's already in her car driving to find this Alma Street, or Peachtree Street. So that's awesome, Sandy. Let's jump back over for our slides. So we want to make sure they're not on the market, unless you want to do the sniper, MLS Sniper, which is a completely different strategy. But for general, if you're going to be going after marketing, if you're doing MLS Sniper, you're going after stuff that's on the MLS. There's a whole process on how to do that. If you're not MLS snipering, you want to be going after homes that are not currently listed on the market. You want off-market properties. That's where you're going to find some of your best values. Sandy already knows what that property is. Well, going and knocking on the door isn't going to help because the person that owns it lives in a different state than where the property is actually located. So the only way, Sandy, you're going to get in touch with those guys is to send them a postcard or to do what's called a skip trace and then make a phone call to them. Now, luckily, that's all built into Investor's Edge as well. Okay. When it comes down to contacting the seller, we talked about skip traces just barely, out-of-state lists, you can send postcards, you can call. Those are the different ways we're actually going to get in contact with somebody to help them to make this a reality. All right, guys, we're going to jump into this next segment here. I'm going to grab another drink of water. And we're going to jump into it. Please ask questions, do all that type of stuff. I'll just answer those towards the end. I want to go through this 7 ways first. It may answer some of the questions that you're having, and when we get to the end, happy to answer those questions, so keep them coming. Type it in. So far, hit that like button. Yes, always appreciate that. 7 ways to decrease your risk when it comes to fix and flips. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the 7 different ways that you can decrease your risk when it comes to fix and flip, which I can't think of a more important topic than that at this time. You may make money when you buy a property, but you realize it when you sell. So the key is buying right. Let me rephrase that again. You make money when you buy a property, you realize it when you sell it, okay? So if you buy the property right, it can make up for a lot of sins, a lot of mistakes if you buy that property right. But if you buy the property wrong, there's nothing you can do that's going to make those things go away. So you really make money when you buy the property, you realize that profit when you sell it, and we've got to buy properties right. That's the number one key we need to be talking about here. So there's a couple things to understand. 1, scope of work. What will this look like after you have done the repairs? What will this property look like after you've done the repairs to the property? That's going to also get us into what's called after repaired value. That's based on those repairs. All the costs associated with fix and flips is what we're going to be getting into here as well. So one of the things, and this is what you can get a copy of as well from us, is our contractor rehab estimate. On this contractor rehab estimate, this is really important. The very first thing is to say, what is the scope of work going to be done to the property? You've got to outline that. This is what the scope of work is. This is what we're planning on doing. This is the type of finishes. We're going to do builder's grade. We're going to do high end. We're going to do mid grade. We're going to do custom type stuff. What type of grade are we talking? Then what we start to do is come down here and we see the property site. You click on the things that are going to be there. Are we doing rough landscaping? Yes, so we click on it. Are we doing steps and porch? No, so we leave that unclicked, which helps us develop what the actual scope of work of the property is. And then what we're trying to do is make this look as good or even maybe a little bit better than the comparables that we want to sell this house for, and that becomes our required items checklist. Those are the things of the work that needs to be done to the property, and if there's any inspections that may be required in order for us to get there. So the first steps are understand a few things. Number 1, the quality of work you are looking for that you're planning to do. What type of quality work is this going to be? That's one of the things you've got to really look at. And the required scope of work, meaning what are we actually going to do to this property? Those things are going to help us in what's called our after repaired value. That is what the property will be worth once the repairs are done, and it's 3 to 4 months from today, because it's going to take you some time to get those done, and it's going to take you some time to actually find a buyer. So we're trying to predict the future just a little bit, which things change as time goes on. So to do that, we're going to look at sold properties and we're going to look at active properties, both solds and active. So we're not going to look at one versus the other, because if the market's heading down, sold prices will be priced higher than what active homes, right? It's sold for more than it's really going to be selling for, because you could buy the same house for less money today. So that's something you've got to keep in mind. And the same thing, if the market's heading up, active homes will be priced higher than sold homes. So how do you actually do this? Well, what I do is I look at 3 to 4 active homes and 3 to 4 sold homes, okay? 3 to 4 active and 3 to 4 sold. We look at those comparables within a mile of the property. The closer they are, the better it is. We want to make sure they're in the same neighborhoods. And you've got to realize there's this thing called natural boundaries, okay? These natural boundaries exist. Like it could be a street, it could be a school, it could be a river. One of the things that we have with Investor's Edge is the heat maps, and they are a big help in understanding the differences in these areas. So I pulled this just so it would make it easier, but you can go in an Investor's Edge, you can put in, oh yeah, we've got Atlanta here actually. You can see these differences of areas. You can see where price differences are and where they're not. So you can see what's more expensive, what's less expensive based upon this heat map. Now, that's where you've got to look. Some of these fringe areas is where you've got to be very careful that you're not taking a property. And that's where a lot of investors get in trouble, is they actually are taking a property that's on the other side of the railroad tracks, which all of those are more expensive properties, for their property that's on the different side, and they run into some trouble. And I don't want you to have that. Okay, sold date. Typically, we want to look at stuff that's sold in the last 3 to 6 months. You can go up to a year, but the further you go out, the less reliable your in value is actually going to be. For square footage and those types of things, I look at 20%, give or take. So if the subject property was 5,000 square feet, for an example, just to make it easy, I'm going to look for things from 4,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. We're going to sort from least expensive to most expensive. We're going to look at least expensive and ask ourselves, will the subject property be better or worse than our property? We want 2 to 3 to determine an estimated sell price of the comparables. That's what we're looking for. And then the other thing we've got to look at associated costs. Like how much did those people negotiate from their listing price to what they actually sold that property for? Did they pay any closing costs for the buyer that was going to be buying the property? And we also need to look at what are some changes in the market that could potentially actually be happening. So let's talk a little bit about closing costs. I think you just need to plan on paying closing costs. Okay, you just got to plan on paying closing costs. Closing costs are going to be something that the buyer's going to come in and say, I want you to pay for my closing costs. Typically, a buyer's closing cost is going to be 3 to 5%. This is going to be in addition to your closing costs as a seller. So the buyers are going to come in and say, hey, I'll give you $100,000 for the property, but I want you to pay $4,000 of the buyer's closing costs, which you can do that with FHA loans, which then basically you don't care that you're paying their closing costs. It's basically the offers for $96,000. Don't get caught up on if you're paying their costs. I've had some sellers that are like, I'm not going to pay their costs. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You're getting $96,000 any way you look at it. So don't get hung up on some of those things. But plan on paying buyers' closing costs. Buyers ask the seller to pay the lower amount, cash to close, and this is going to vary based upon what's happening in the actual marketplace at that time. Negotiating costs. Plan on some negotiating. This is in addition to what we're talking about here with paying buyers closing costs. You've got to plan on some negotiating room. I plan on about 3 to 5% is usually what I plan on. I think with looking at the future estimates of what's going to happen with values in the next couple of years, I would say 5% is probably a good point to be in. So you're saying, hey, we're forecasting a 5% change in values, and you're going to have that property for maybe 6 months. You're going to say, hey, I've got to get 2.5 to 5% less. Then I'm going to plan on about 3 to 5% in closing costs for the new buyer, plus my closing costs, which our advanced deal analysis is going to help you with that. And that's really going to depend on the market and what's happening in the market. The great news is, if you plan on selling the house for less, you can always sell it for more. But if you're planning on selling the property for more, it's really difficult to sell it for less because you're going to start cutting in to the bone, and that is no fun. Now, in a downward market, we plan on decreased values, okay? In a downward market, we plan on decreasing values. So that could be 3 to 10% depending on the current market. So something you have to make a judgment call on is what that's going to look like and where that's going to go so that you can make a good educated guess. Now, if the market's moving up, you don't have to worry about that, but you don't plan on values going up. It's a big mistake. You're saying, oh, values have gone up 20% last year, so they're going to go up 20% this year. Well, guess what? They're not going up 20% this year, so we've made a bad assumption. So I don't plan on values going up, but I do forecast values going down, because if values go up, it's more profit for me. But if values go down, that can cut to the bone, and I don't want to see that happening. So I plan on some values going down. And if they don't go down and I'm able to sell it for more, it's more money in my pocket. So make sure you're not planning on that going for a higher amount and then saying, oh, okay, well, we'll just plan on that making up for it. It doesn't work like that. A couple other ways to talk about decreasing your risk. One of them is a contingency fund. Okay, another one is our project timeline and also project management. So we're going to talk about these. And lastly is listing with a good agent. That's going to be number 7. Don't worry, we'll go through and recap these at the end. So a contingency fund. What is a contingency fund? Well, you want to do everything you can to avoid cost overruns. A cost overruns is our bid was for $30,000. It's all broken down and detailed, and they're saying we need more money. Well, the only reason that should happen is if there was damage done to the property, or if there was an unknown thing that happened that you weren't aware of. Let's say that there was the sewer line that went bad and you had no idea, although you can scope sewer and water lines, and I recommend you do that actually, so that it doesn't come as a surprise, which is back to your inspections. So there was theft or vandalism, or something broke that was in great shape, but it just broke all of a sudden. Those things do happen, but those should be the exception, not the rule. But if that happens, it's a cost overrun. So what you want to make sure with this is that you have some money set aside if that happens. We call that a contingency plan. I like to set aside 5 to 10% of my rehab costs as a contingency plan. So for example, if it was a $50,000 rehab, I'd be setting $25,000 to $5,000 aside in addition to make sure that I have that money in case something comes up. And lots of times it does. So you've got to be prepared for that and ready to use that money. So now it doesn't have to be cash for this. It can actually be on a credit card where you could put those things on a credit card. It could be a line of credit. It could be a short-term loan from your 401k or your retirement account. Those are all ways that you can actually access some of that short-term cash so that you can make sure you've got money for a contingency. Next thing we're going to talk about here is project timeline. Project timeline. What is this timeline on the project? Contractors are notorious for saying everything is on track and then being weeks or months behind. So you have got to make sure when you start that job, you put a timeline together and everybody's on the same page. What is going to be happen by week? Especially when it comes to hunting season in Utah, contractors are like nowhere to be found. And I have no idea why that's the case, but it just happens. And they don't return your phone calls because they're in the mountains. It's crazy. Okay, so project management becomes our next thing, like actually managing the project and making sure things are done. This means every single week, I need to be going to the property. I need my detailed week by week, and I need an on-site meeting to make sure the work is actually being done. If it's not being done, there is a problem. There's a really big problem, and we have to make sure that we correct that and we don't let that problem continue. So you go over when these on-sites, you're on the property and you're saying, what was supposed to get done last week? Did it get done? If not, why not? And when is it going to get done? What is going to get done this next week? Is there any reason why these can't get done? And what are we looking at for future weeks? Have we ordered cabinets? Do we have glass that's coming to replace the broken window or new windows or whatever the case is? Is everything ordered that's necessary so we're not waiting on supplies? And one pro tip on that, don't buy stuff that is out of stock. Buy stuff that is in stock. If it's out of stock, you are setting yourself up for a disaster because one of the most expensive things is your interest expense. It adds up and it really adds up. And if that interest expense adds up, you would much rather take a different tile or a different carpet that's actually in stock as long as it looks good in those things. But you want to do things based upon what do you have in stock? Great. Let's find what fits best for things that are actually in stock rather than saying, oh yeah, we'll order that and get that for you. You don't want to wait around for that stuff. It costs you way too much money to do that. So we're going to go over what needs to be done. If it wasn't done, find out why and have a list of everything that's going to be done the following week. So when I'm walking out, that contractor knows the project plan, knows what's supposed to get done this week, and has the plan for the future and a completion date that is in mind. The other thing you've got to do is simply hold contractors accountable. I love contractors. Don't get me wrong. I make jokes about them going hunting and everything else like that, mostly because they're true, but not all contractors hunt. I get that. But you have to hold contractors accountable. And you can't let contractors walk over you. You need to say, no, this is what needs to happen. This is when it needs to be done. Because every time that you get derailed on a weekly thing, you can get way off course. And that can turn into you being in a world of hurt if it's not done in the time frame that you need it to. The next tip that we're going to talk about here is listing with good agents at market prices. Okay, listing with good agents at market prices. Let me just tell you, if you were going to go have heart surgery, would you want to have heart surgery with a guy that does heart surgery and also waits tables at the local diner at night? No, of course not. Well, why would you want to make a $250,000 investment with somebody that is waiting tables at Denny's in the evening? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What I can tell you is good agents are worth their weight in gold, okay? They are worth their weight in gold. You want full-time agents. You do not want discount brokerages. You get what you pay for. And I'm not saying to overpay an agent, but just simply negotiations alone can more than pay for the cost of the agent. I've seen it time and time again, whether that's negotiating for a higher price, negotiating for a lower price, like those types of things. Paying an agent when you are wanting to resell a property will be well worth it. Also, you want somebody that has history of, you want somebody that is an agent. When we're talking about agents here, you want somebody that has a history of selling homes and does not do real estate part-time. One of the things I like to do is I like to go into Investor's Edge. I like to find out what has been sold in the past, and then I say, who are the agents that have sold those? And then I look at what properties they've sold and how many they've done. This is something you want to make sure you have. You do not want a part-time agent. Current market prices, you can't change the market, right? So the market could change between now and the time the property's finished and it's on the market. You can't fight that. Don't try and fight it. Don't say, well, I was hoping to get more. Whatever it can sell for now is what it can sell for now. If you can't get what you were hoping to, maybe you should look at doing a refinance. If you can't do a refinance, you just need to sell the property for the most you can for where it's sitting actually right now. The most expensive cost is interest. That's going to add up. Interest never sleeps. Same with taxes, same with insurance. Those things never sleep and they continue to add up. You want to be aggressively priced in the market. A lot of people are worried, oh, I'm going to underprice my property. That doesn't happen because there's an equilibrium. If you underprice the property, you're going to get multiple offers, and who knows, you might sell it for more than you would have because you've gotten all this attention, which I've seen that happen many times. So don't worry about that. What you want to do is make sure you're priced at a good price so that you can get this property sold. Listing at a price that the market dictates. You can't make up the price. The market does that for you, and you just need to listen, which is one of the reasons why having a great agent that knows the area, that's full-time, can really help you out. Now, let's just recap this. What have you learned today? We've gone through the 7 ways to decrease your risk on fix and flip properties. Number 1 is the scope of work. Having a great scope of work and having that outline. What are we going to do to the property? How does that compare to the properties that have actually sold? And is my property going to be better, worse? Those are the things we're looking at. Next is to really know your after repaired value. How do you determine that after repaired value? You've got to get data, you've got to do research, you've got to look at actives, you've got to look at solds. Associated costs, negotiating costs, and market changes. We've got to make sure that we're accounting for those things, that we are planning for paying buyers closing costs. Contingency fund, having money that is set aside from somewhere in case we do have cost overruns. And then we've got to have a project time frame. We've got to have a time frame that everyone is on the same page with. And then project management, we've got to aggressively manage the project. And lastly, listing with an agent at current market prices. That is going to be number 7. All right, guys, let me answer a couple of questions. It looks like Roseanne has a couple of questions. How can you tell what the ARV is in smaller towns and commercial properties? So you've got to look at, you've either got to get access to MLS records with an agent or with using Investor's Edge. If there isn't an active MLS, you're gonna have to go off tax records, and then it depends if it's a disclosure versus a non-disclosure state. So all of that happening, what you've got to do is find data. You've got to find properties that have sold. Where are you going to find those properties that are sold? Properties that have sold you can find on tax records, and properties that have sold you can find on the MLS. So luckily, most of the time you can find that through Investor's Edge. A few times you can't, but like 98% of the time you can. So that's what you've got to do. Now, luckily, you can find active listings pretty much anywhere. We've got it in Investor's Edge, but you can jump on Realtor.com or Zillow or any of those things and find active. So you're going to want to look at actives and you're going to want to look at solds. So that's where you're going to find that. Commercial properties is a whole different animal. Commercial properties are typically done based upon cap rates, not based upon comparables, because there's 3 different ways to value a property. You could have a cost to construct, what's going to cost to bring it back to the same condition it's in. You've got comparables. This sold for that, so this will. And then you've got income on your commercial properties, which is going to be a cap rate, which is a whole different animal that I can talk about, but is off topic. How about home staging the property? I like to home stage the property. There's also a thing called virtual home staging, where it actually is staged in the pictures, but it's not staged when you get there. If you are going to home stage, make sure you get a great deal. Make sure that you're working with a reputable company. But those are some things that you can look at that can make the house. I don't stage the entire house. Typically, if I'm staging a house, I do the first room you walk into, and then I'll do a few things in the kitchen that are like easy, some plates and that type of stuff. And then I may hang a bath rod or curtain in the shower. And then what I do is I do a blow up mattress in the master bedroom, and I put it on top of my crates because I have the bins that I put all this stuff in, and I put those down. I put a blow up, and then I throw a comforter over it, so it doesn't look perfect, but it looks a lot better. And I'm using a lot of those things to make it quite a bit easier and less expensive. But I am getting some of those home stage things when I'm actually working with a home stager. Sounds like Roseanne is a home stager, which is fantastic. You probably know a few more tricks to the trade. Now, oh, I love this. Cardiologist versus dentist. Yeah, I gotcha. My analogy wasn't the greatest this time, I know, but hopefully you got the picture. Contractor estimate sheet, that's what I showed earlier, and I want to get you a copy of that. If you text your email address to 435-294-0433, 435-294-0433, I will get you a free copy of our current contractor estimate. I can tell you it is worth its weight in gold. You want to get a copy of that. I literally have been working on this for 20 years. When I first started, it was all on my paper, and then we started putting it and typing it up, and then we put things in, and it's just gotten better and better and better. Big thanks to Jonathan here at the office, who just makes it better every day. DoHardMoney.com/get started. If you're interested in our Find Fund Flip system, we have funding, courses, resources, calculator, software, and support. DoHardMoney.com/get started. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, check out my podcast called Income Hacker. You can text your email so you can get that contractor estimate. But check us out, Income Hacker, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts, you will find us. Now, it is time for the t-shirt giveaway. Let me grab another drink here. Our t-shirt giveaway of the week. Let's see, what about recycled materials? I've seen some nice and sturdy materials. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Sandy, on the recycled stuff. All right. Our winner of the week, for our t-shirt winner of the week, which is for last week, everybody from the beginning of this live cast until next week will be this week's winner. But last week's winner was Sushant Siegel. Sushant, thank you so much for being with us last week. If you're here today, please give us a shout out. If not, what I need to have you do is email support@dohardmoney.com, put in the subject that you are the shirt winner, and put in your screen name, the mailing address, your cell phone number, and your shirt size, and we will send you out a free shirt. We pay for the shirt, we pay for the shipping, and we will get that on out to you. Now, for everybody that's participated, and for those that are going to be participating, like Sandy and Roseanne, and let's see who else we've got here, Glenda, and let's see, I'm missing a few people, Angel, and there's a lot of people that have been participating, and there's a lot more that have been quiet. Next time, put some comments in there. Find out if you are going to be the t-shirt winner next week. We will be doing this same time, same place, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And next week, we're going to be talking about how to calculate how much you can offer on a property. How do you know what you can actually offer on that property to make sure it is profitable? And that's going to be different if it's a BRRRR deal. That's going to be different if it's fix and flip. If it's a wholesale, we're going to talk about those things. You're going to want to be here next week to check it out. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with me. Make it a very profitable day, and I will see you next time.